NFL slate this week. Alex, what's going on?
Not much, man. Excited as always for another week of the Yahoo Baller. Last
Oh,
week, I don't know if you saw it, but there were a ton of awesome logos near the top. Unfortunately, for me, it was our friend Adam Scher that was really taking up all the top spots. You notice that?
did he kill it on Yahoo too?
He did. Let me
Yeah,
just go back and see how he did here.
that's
Um,
nuts.
he got. Um, this is. Well, anyway. I
he,
think I pulled up the
he
wrong week here, but he did very well.
shipped 100K and did well in Yahoo as well.
Uh,
They're bringing it back this week. $39,000 people in there, 39,000 entries in there, $10 entry, $350,000 in prizes. One of the best tournaments of the week. I was just telling you before we went on that I've been profitable every single week on Yahoo, and as well they've got hockey now, which is pretty cool. And I've done pretty well over there as well. Like it's definitely one of the sites you want to play. One of the first places you want to put your money every week. We also have a promo code going on over there. You can use promo code AWESOMO. You can click on the link. If you go to EMAC's article, EMAC breaks down the entire slate every week in his $1 million baller article, talking about his favorite plays. And in there's a link. You can click on that. It's on the AWESOMO site right now. And take that link will take you over there, and you get $30 in YSRP points when you use the promo code AWESOMO. So helps us out, helps Yahoo out, helps you out because it's a great site to play. Go check it out. Today show, we're going to break down a few of the higher scoring games and some of the top options on Yahoo slate. And then for the final half of it, we are going to go in and build some cash and GPP lineups. What are your general thoughts on this week, Alex? Anything standing out to you?
I mean, the first thing I noticed is I started trying to look for the game of the week, and I couldn't really find any that were that compelling. I think the one game that may be better for a um, a football perspective is this Green Bay Dallas game. I think that should be a really entertaining one.
Well, we're gonna have to talk about that because you're not super high on my man Zeke Elliott, so I would defer to you. But one of the other great things about playing on Yahoo this week, it is going to be fun because unlike the other sites, Yahoo has the Kansas City Chiefs and Indianapolis Colts game, which has a 57-point total, and that is the Sunday nighter, which makes for just an all-out tilt fest. Sometimes it's good to get those contests sorted, but I prefer having that Sunday nighter in there, especially if you've got the hammer down and you need some Kelce action. So,
Dude, you're not
yeah,
going to be feeling good about your lineup if you're in first at like 6 p.m.
no. If you have like nothing left and you're in first, like just forget it. Just burn your lineup. You're bad.
Definitely. I mean, guys like Kelce, Watkins, Mahomes, surely some of the more popular players of the week.
Yeah, and it looks like T.Y. Hilton is a go. So that's a good
Nice.
transition for us. Why don't we break into that game tonight? It is the highest total, as I said. Um, we have Patrick Mahomes at $41. We have kind of a mixed bag at running back, $27 for Damian Williams, LaShawn McCoy, 22. Marlon Mack is questionable. T.Y. Hilton was just ruled in, I think, a couple hours ago. I just saw that on Twitter. We have the most expensive tight end on the slate, Travis Kelce, for $32. What's standing out to you about this game?
Yeah, I think just the outrageous over under to start with. I mean, I don't think we've seen a game with a 56 over under all year so far, and that
No.
means so if you add 11 and 56, you get 67. That means the Chiefs are projected to score like 34 points here.
Oh my God. Yeah, 11 points. That's nuts.
That's gonna be awesome if you have these guys in season long and if you can afford them in daily because they're gonna be some of the highest price guys of the week.
Yeah, absolutely. So one guy that I'm really targeting, I'm going to have as much as him as I can possibly fit in, is Travis Kelce. He has a $32 price tag. The Indianapolis Colts defense, they play such a high zone rate, and that just allows tight ends to pick them apart. For the past two seasons, they finished in the bottom three in DVOA against tight ends, and in the bottom five in fantasy points allowed to tight ends. As well, Travis Kelce ate them alive last time when they played in the playoffs. How do you feel about Travis Kelce last? It's a little bit much. How do you feel about Kelce heading into this week?
I mean, I feel good about him. He has a ton of production for the position he plays, which is the main factor. Tyreek Hill still being out means that Kelsey's kind of the top dog in Kansas City. And I like the fact that he hasn't really had a big fantasy game in the past few weeks. Yeah, that, and also like people maybe won't feel as confident putting him in their lineups. 12 points, 12.4 points, 28-10. Not exactly the numbers that fantasy owners have been looking for. And I think that people might be sour on him, and that could make it a sweet time to put him in your lineup.
Now, what are you doing now? You got Kelce. What are you doing with Pat Mahomes at $41? He is very expensive. Are you going to be able to fit him into some of your lineups this week?
The crazy thing is, like, $41 is higher than any player that Yahoo has priced all year. And yeah. I mean, if it's going to be anyone, Patrick Mahomes certainly should be a candidate for that price. But at quarterback, there's so many good options week to week that, like, you'd think it'd be pretty hard to get to Mahomes, but he's actually showing up the most of any player at the quarterback position when I just create lineups based on my projections. So,
but you don't have the Colt McCoy news in yet, though, right?
That's right. Yeah, I gotta update Colt McCoy because how much is he? Like -$5?
Let's see. Yeah, maybe he's like the Miami Dolphins defense. Colt McCoy is the bear. I think he's the bare min for quarterbacks. $20. Oh wait, it's New England they get this week. For some reason, I thought about Philly. So yeah, that's not a great matchup for him.
I think you might be able to find better matchups, but you won't be able to find better prices.
Yeah, fair enough. Anyone else standing out to you in this game? You're going to bring it back and bring back any Chiefs stacks with T.Y. Hilton. It looks like Paris Campbell is out for the Colts. We have two tight ends there, and really like not a lot of other pass catching options other than T.Y. Hilton. Is there anyone else that stands out to you in this offense? Zach Pascal, Chester Rogers, Deion Kane, anyone?
I think it would be T.Y. Hilton. I know it's edgy, but he's a guy that is really the focal point of this offense. Indianapolis isn't throwing as much with Jacoby Brissett as they would have with Luck, which is disappointing, but he's ran 89 routes and he's been targeted 25 times. That kind of volume is really good when he's on the field. And if we're assuming that he's back to full strength, I think that should be really nice in a situation where maybe they're playing from behind. He'll get some garbage time work. But also I like some other pieces of this game, like Sammy Watkins at $24. That seems like a reasonable price.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got punt play, McCole Hardman. Maybe you could go to with Hill out. Who are you liking here?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. T.Y. Hilton's a great option. Normally, I worry about picking guys like McCole Hardman up against the Colts because they play that too deep safety look, or they have they have like a more umbrella defense that tries to limit big plays and allows teams to attack holes in the zone. So, and with McCole Hardman as a game breaker. However, both the Colts starting safeties are out, so I don't know what this defense is going to look like this week. I think everyone's in play in this, and so I'm definitely going to be locking in as much Kelce as possible. Sammy Watkins seems great, and then maybe like depending on if you want a sneaky play. I don't know how sneaky it'll be, but if Marlon Mack is out, I think Naheem Hines makes for a great option in game stacks as well. He had 6 targets last week, 40 yards. He will be an integral part of this offense, and the Colts are projected to be trailing in this game as well.
Yeah, I think that Hines and Wilkins, if Mack is out, I mean, it's most likely going to be Kansas City that's leading at the end of the game. But there is a possibility that Indianapolis might get off to a hot start. And Wilkins, I assume he's the minimum price. That could be just way too low for the guy who's doing the bulk of the carries.
Absolutely. Yeah, Naheem Hines is $11 on Yahoo, and Wilkins is $11 as well. So the only worry there is that we might not get the news about Marlon Mack. So you might want to save a little extra cap space or have some pivot options available to you heading into that Sunday night, or if you want to adjust your lineups accordingly.
Good point, because it is so much later than the other games.
All right, all right. Let's move on to game number 2 here. I'm just going to check our sheet. How about Cincinnati, Arizona? Not exactly. You should be getting excited to play, I think, but the prices are going to be cheaper. These are two ugly teams, but they're also really ugly defenses. And this game has a 47.5-point total, which is pretty surprising to me. What do you like in here? Anything exciting?
Yeah, I think that Arizona plays the fastest pace in the league. Um, Surprisingly, they're dogs to the Bengals team that's just been really struggling recently. So the Bengals, maybe the first ones you look at this game, Dalton, not really the greatest fantasy quarterback, and he is priced up a little bit at 29 compared to his season performance. So that's not exciting by any means, but Tyler Boyd at $21 seems pretty reasonable. And then we got John Ross, who is on the IR, and that should open some work for Auden Tate. And I don't even see him on the list, so he must be really cheap.
Auden Tate is the bare min on Yahoo, $10. I like both of these wide receivers. Auden Tate is a big-bodied guy who can catch passes in the end zone. I think he's a good chance to see some red zone targets there. Tyler Boyd is probably my favorite play on the slate. It looks like he's yours too. You have him graded as a double A grade for wide receivers, and that is, I think he's our only double A grade wide receiver on Yahoo this week. $21. He's going to get targets. He's being targeted at the 5th highest rate in the NFL with the likes of DeAndre Hopkins and Julio Jones right now. So I got no problem going to him. And then on the other side of this, we have Christian Kirk and Larry Fitzgerald, who are running routes at the highest numbers in the entire NFL. Do you like bringing it back with either of those two?
So I might not be up to date on the latest news, but I've been hearing Christian Kirk is a little bit unlikely to play.
I might not be up to date on the latest news.
Well, there's someone on Twitter, like, I posted my season-long lineup, and it had Kirk in it, and I was like, how do you think my chances are this week? And he's like, dude, you're dumb, man. He's not even playing. So, I don't know. I'll have to look into that, but...
No, you're right. It looks like he is doubtful. Bad ankle injury for Christian Kirk. I missed that piece of news. So Fitzgerald, you got to like Fitzgerald even more. Keyshawn Johnson, Demarius Byrd. There are a lot of other guys in this offense. This offense, 4 wide receiver sets at the highest rate in the NFL.
And one guy, I'm probably not going to go to this guy at a high rate, but Amari Cooper. He was just a legend in college football, and now in the NFL, he's been kind of a special teams guy. But he should be in the game most of the game with all these guys out, with Bird, Kirk, and let's see. Those are the 2 guys that are out, I suppose.
That is a deep dive right there, man.
Yeah, imagine he's $10 at Yahoo, so it's a decent play. But Larry Fitzgerald, I think that he's been getting the targets, and he should get even more with Kirk out.
Do you have any hot takes on the running games here? David Johnson for $30. Joe Mixon is scrolling way down here to $18. Looks like he's healthy.
Yeah, I think these guys are among my favorites of the week. If there was a game to stack up, I think this is it. If it's not the Kansas City game, I think that Boyd and Tate are my favorite options. But when these Arizona guys are pretty good. At running back, Johnson, $30. That seems like a pretty reasonable price. But this is the first game that Arizona should be in a pretty good spot. So I like him. He should get a lot of the work. Mixon, as you're saying, pretty underpriced at $18. And matchup doesn't get better than this. So I think that's nice. And... one of the sneaky plays is Andy Dalton, I think, because for some reason when I crunched, I got a ton of Tate, I got a ton of Boyd, but I got relatively little Andy Dalton. I think that Kyler Murray, being cheaper and the better fantasy player, should get a lot of the ownership at quarterback compared to Dalton. Mm-hmm. And that could be kind of it's the 1 week of the year where it's Dalton week.
It's Dalton week. I love it. Dalton wins someone $1 million every single week. Usually it's out of nowhere, or every single year. Usually it's out of nowhere. Final thought on this game: Tyler Eifert He's getting about a 42% snap rate, but he was the only tight end targeted in this offense last week. CJ Uzomah is not really being used as a pass-catching threat. Arizona terrible against tight ends so far this year. They ranked dead last in DVOA. Do you have any sprinkles of Eifert here, or is that snap rate just not enough for you?
I've heard some rumbling about him. Like I think I saw Adam Levitan posted that if Eifert made the catch on Monday night, he would be like 100% on next week.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Or something like that. But I might be one of those people who would have faded him anyway because of the snap count, as you're saying, being split with Uzomah, and also he just doesn't do that much with his targets over the past season. He's caught him at a little bit better, 70%, but only 9 yards per catch. So not the most impressive numbers.
Yeah, fair enough. I think that's probably a good reason to fade. And as we mentioned, we got Kelce to pop in that tight end spot anyways. Houston Texans versus the Atlanta Falcons. Matt Ryan quietly tearing it up. He is priced up on Yahoo at $35 this week. Pardon me. This game is looking like a pretty high implied total as well. We have 50 points, second highest implied total on the slate. What are you seeing here, Alex? Anything exciting?
I think the $35 price tag is making me balk a little bit. I mean, that seems pretty high for a guy like Matt Ryan, is it not?
Yeah, I think so. I think I've seen him elsewhere a lot cheaper than that. So I wouldn't be using him on Yahoo at all.
Yeah, he's definitely a pay-up spot for a guy who's not really the best fantasy player. So that's kind of alarming. Julio being $39, that isn't the most appealing thing either. One thing I've noticed about Julio is that he hasn't been running. He hasn't been like out there on every pass play for the Falcons, and for a guy who's the top dollar option, he's just not out on the field as much as some other stud players. So the fact that he's priced up in a matchup where they're not even projected to do very well is a red flag. But despite that, when I ran my crunches, it may be just a lack of other options. I got to some Matt Ryan, I got to some Julio, but not plays that really make me that excited.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I wasn't expecting you to get to them at those price points. What about any of these other secondary receivers? Is Will Fuller ever going to have that breakout game that I've been touting for the last 4 weeks?
I feel like maybe Houston isn't a bad stack here, yeah. Watson was my fourth most owned quarterback when I ran my crunch.
Yep.
And actually, I think I do like Fuller. He had been a little bit more expensive, but now that he's $14, I think that's more in line with where he should be.
We have Kenny Stills questionable as well, so that might lower some targets. Kiki Kute will probably get in there as a like-for-like replacement, but that may force Deshaun Watson to rely a little bit more on his field stretcher. If you saw that press conference last week, a lot of these defenses have just been playing over-the-top coverage and trying to prevent him from breaking one loose. So one of these weeks he's going to get through, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's won people a lot of money in the past because of that. And I'm not like super high on him as a player, but $14 with one of the better offenses of the week, you gotta like that.
What about these Houston running backs? We've seen Atlanta as the flowchart defense to play running backs against, especially pass-catching backs, the likes of Duke Johnson. Atlanta normally, because of their scheme, just gives up a lot of underneath targets to running backs. Are you at all interested in either of these guys?
I think that this backfield in Houston with Hyde and Johnson is about as close to 50-50 as it gets. So it's a situation where the production isn't that great, especially because Watson runs it a lot himself, and the price tags aren't the minimum. So I'm not that interested, but I don't hate it. How about you?
No, I can't get to him either for that exact reason you just outlined there. Though I think maybe in a game stack, it looks like both of these guys are catching the ball a fair amount here. So I don't necessarily hate it, but not super excited to play either one of them with their better options on the slate. All right, we got 2 games left. Let's go rapid fire here so we can build some lineups in a little bit here. Tampa Bay, New Orleans. Tampa Bay at New Orleans, 47-point total. New Orleans Saints favored by 3. Tampa Bay's run defense has been really good so far this year. And we have Teddy Bridgewater starting against Jameis Winston. What do you like in here? See anything stand out to you?
I was surprised that I got to some Bridgewater in my lineups. I think that $23 for a starting quarterback on the Saints, like you could put any name on this page right here, and I'd probably be interested because I mean they have some good weapons in Kamara and Thomas, so I could definitely see going to Saints. As far as Tampa Bay, like Jameis Winston for $33. Evans 30, Godwin 24. Seems a little pricey. What do you think?
Yeah, it seems a little bit pricey for this total. I think they're probably going to have some suppressed ownership as a result. I do like your call on Teddy Bridgewater. I was kind of buying into the Mina Kimes, is that his name? Tweet where she was like, no one would play him if his name was like Derek Bridgewater.
Theodore Bridgewater.
Right?
that would be someone I would lock in. So I think it's all in the name.
It's all in, right? Yeah. So I think like Alvin Kamara is not terribly priced, $33 here. That Tampa interior run defense with Sue and Villa has just been so good this season. But of course, Kamara doesn't run through the tackles a lot, so there's a possibility that he can still produce some fantasy value. I don't hate that, and I don't hate stacking up this game, though. I think New Orleans plays at a really slow pace these days, and I think they're gonna try and slow things down a little bit and try and force some turnovers and run the ball here. So we'll see. It's one of these games that could go either way depending on who's able to impose their will on the other team.
Yeah, I like it. I think this should be a competitive one. The spread's only -3, and that's what you want if you're going to game stack. And this game is super expensive, so you might be one of just a few people that's on it.
Mike Evans, $29. Is that too? That feels a little cheap, right?
Mike Thomas, 29. Yeah, that's way cheaper than we're used to. So I could see going there. I mean, I don't think he's going to post a 90% catch rate with Bridgewater like he did with Breeze, but still a great player.
Awesome. All right, final game of our 5-game stack that we go over. The Dallas Cowboys at home to the Green Bay Packers, one of only 2 afternoon, early evening games this week. I don't know what the NFL is doing there, but at least you can treat this one as kind of a marquee game. We have my boy Zeke Elliott. We're gonna have to hash this out right now. We're gonna have fighting words because I'm all over Zeke this week. 97% snap share. Packers have one of the most pronounced funnel defenses in the league. They have terrible pass defense. $33 seems very reasonable to me $36 seems very reasonable to me for Zeke Elliott. What am I missing here? Are you liking him at all? Have you softened on your stance, or are you still worried about his snap share with Tony Pollard?
I'm a little bit worried. I think that Green Bay's defense may be getting a little bit unlucky this year, giving up 5 yards per carry, which obviously you want to see that if you're picking the running back against them. So I think there's definitely merit to it. The 90s, the snap share I'm not as sold on because we see every week, like last week it was Nick Chubb who had run like 100% of the game the previous week, but then Dontrell Hilliard all of a sudden last game was getting some major looks. So I assume that's going to be what's happening in Dallas because that's been kind of their game plan throughout the season so far. It has been a small number of games, so like we really don't know, so it could go either way. But what I'm expecting is that because he was only on pace for 18 carries, that's why like they kept him in. If he had been on pace for a higher number of carries, we would have seen more Pollard.
That's a good point. Yeah, so maybe they are limiting his snaps in order to get his carries down. We will find this should be a pretty telling game for that. What are you liking in the rest of this game? Got Devontae Adams still questionable, still not practicing with turf toe. I would expect he's probably not going to play. Are you bumping up Marquez Valdez-Scantling or Geronimo Allison as a result?
Absolutely. I mean, if Devontae Adams is out, that's a third of the Packers' passing attack that's going to get distributed to other guys. And I feel like MVS and Geronimo Allison they're talented players, so I think that they should be able to pick up the slack there. Especially Geronimo Allison should get the biggest bump because he's only on the field about 2/3 of the time right now. That should go way up if Devontae Adams is out. But then I'm having trouble like picking a third guy they really haven't been playing anyone a ton. Let's see. They
Maybe Jake.
got Kumara. Yeah, that's definitely a possibility. I know that he was like the preseason guy, right?
Yeah, all Matt Berry. He's pumping him up.
Oh, okay, gotcha. We'll see
Yeah,
if we'll see what Matthew Berry says this week about Kumara. That'll be big.
absolutely. Are you buying into this Jair Alexander as one of the elite corners, and does that dissuade you from playing Amari Cooper at all?
I mean, I think Green Bay's defense is pretty decent, and that's why we're seeing a line of only minus 3.5 here. Um, but the particular matchups, it's not really something that makes like a huge part of my process. I don't think I'll have a ton of Cooper though because he is like quite expensive, $28.
All right. Final thoughts on this game or any of the other games we covered? Anything I missed?
I, I think it's all going to come down to price. Like Yahoo has done a really good job of kind of making some of the more tempting options expensive. So when you got some of these studs like in Green Bay, Dallas, Kansas City, it's just like you have to find some good value plays to fit those guys in. And I'm not seeing a ton of great options this week as far as value. Yeah.
All right. Well, we're going to get into it right now. When we build some lineups, we're going to build 2 GPP lineups, 1 cash lineup. Before we do that, Alex, can you tell us about some of the things that we have on offer at awesemo.com, promo codes, and how people can access them, and how that helps their process when you're entering these GPPs?
Absolutely, yeah. I'm excited because I feel like we have the winning formula down. It consists of correlation, ownership, and projection. So we have all 3 of those covered. With projections, I feel like mine are more accurate than ones you're going to find elsewhere, and that's going to help you evaluate your lineups better. The ownership, it's important to take that next step because if you just pick the best players every week, you're going to have the same lineup as everybody else. You're going to need to sacrifice some of your favorite players to get some low-owned sleepers if you want to win the baller. And the third part is correlation. You need to be on the team or the game that has the big day. And in my top stacks page, you can find the probabilities of each team being that slate breaker.
Awesome. Yeah, it's super helpful. That's one of my favorite places to go every Sunday morning. It's the place where I base a lot of my GPP winning lineup building strategies off of, and it's so helpful to know how you should be allotting a lot of your ownership based on that other ownership and how likely that these other teams are to go off and become the top stacks of the slate.
Yeah, I mean, I think what I've been finding out the more and more I read about NFL and learn is that projections are good, but they don't tell the full story because of how much correlation there is between opposing teams and between the players on one team. And having the stuff on our site will really help you break that down. For Showdown, we kind of break, for the single game, we break down what are the probabilities each player is going to be the highest scoring. And then for the slate, it's not just who's the highest projected. That's going to be my top stack of the week because we've seen in previous weeks, you got guys like Phillip Rivers versus Miami, where like projected to be one of the best plays of the week, but he might be not that likely to be the best player of the week because for that to happen, Miami needs to really put up a ton of resistance.
Makes total sense. All right, let's build some lineups, eh?
That's it. All right, cash lineup.
Cash lineup it is.
All right, so this is one that we wouldn't really use in the baller because it's going to have all the most popular plays of the week, probably.
Well, I'm assuming that starting out at running back, you're going to be popping in your boy Leonard Fournette, who is available in a trade in our charity league, 1-for-1 for Zeke Elliott.
Man, I'd be giving up $13 according to Yahoo. That sounds like
don't worry about that. Worry about snap counts.
Well, he does have the snap count. I agree with you there. But yeah, I agree with Fournette. I mean, last week showed he's just getting a crazy workload, and a lot of people weren't convinced that he's going to be the top option in fantasy. But last week he kind of showed he has it in his repertoire. So I like him.
You there?
Yeah. All right. Oh, sorry, freeze up here. So Fournette definitely my top option at running back. Just $23 is too cheap, and the matchup's not terrible.
Yeah, matchup's not terrible. Probably, we saw last night. Like Chris Carson can go off in what's perceived as a tough matchup against an interior D. Like matchups aren't everything. That price point is just ridiculously good. So he'd be my first play too. I'm right there with you. Do you want to pop in another guaranteed option here and skip the other running back and just pop in Tyler Boyd?
Yeah, I think that he's just too cheap. $21 for Arizona. I mean, he should be priced more than that, even against a normal opponent, because AJ Green's out, John Ross is out. That means, like, apparently just AJ Green being out wasn't enough for Boyd, but hopefully him and Ross being out, finally Boyd will have his day.
I think so. His target share is just so high. I mean, he might not have that huge game-breaking ability, but I think you can expect an 8 for 80 line is more than reasonable. And if he gets a touchdown, then that's a great bargain there. So,
yeah.
Should we pivot on back up to quarterback? Who you liking for cash in quarterback?
Yeah, I think so. My guy, going through the list here, I think that Mahomes may be an option if you can find some good value. So that'll depend on what happens between now and Sunday. Is Mac out, etc. But
Yeah.
I'm going to scroll down this list a bit to get to my guy, Kyler Murray. I think that $27 is reasonable for someone that rushes and throws, and the pace of play is high. And Cincinnati, not the toughest matchup. So I think he should get plenty of chances to put up some points.
He is a poor man's Lamar Jackson. I think we're all just waiting for that breakout game. It hasn't come yet. I wrote them up in my this stack up in my from the slot article. It's out on the site right now. And one of the reasons that both of these offenses have been so bad is they're converting their red zone chances at around 20 to 25%. Normally, over a full season, the worst team in the NFL will be around 40%. So there's probably some positive regression coming. And as such, we're seeing lower price points than probably we should on these guys. So I like that call a lot.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind some of that red zone regression to the mean.
Yeah, absolutely. What are you looking at for running back here? You got another bargain option for us?
Yeah, I always do, man. So actually, I mean, I think we already talked about him, Joe Mixon.
Yeah.
I might end up with a lot of Cincinnati Bengals on my cash team, or just guys from this game in general.
Yeah.
Maybe it is a little bit too much correlation for cash, but $18 for the number one running back on the team versus Arizona, like, can't beat it.
Yep, 3-point home favorites. His price is probably suppressed because he's been seeing lower snap share because of that injury. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him take that full workload. And he's we've seen it last year. He led the AFC in rushing. Yeah, we could see that again this to start this week. So we're popping him in. We got $22 left per player. That's loads of money. What about a bargain wide receiver here? You got anyone lined up?
I do, man. Auden Tate. Like, as I said, I love the Bengals. Like,
all of them.
Dude, they just were so abysmal on Monday Night Football. I think that you might have more of an advantage in cash this week than usual, because a lot of people might be like, "Oh man, the Bengals are horrible. Like, I'm not playing any Bengals," but they're just so good as far as pricing.
So you would not worry at all about a cash lineup with Joe Mixon, Tyler Boyd, and Auden Tate in it. Like that wouldn't stress you out at all, having that much of a game stack in there.
No, man. I mean, one of these guys is gonna have their game. I mean, obviously that's not guaranteed because we always saw it with Pittsburgh, but the correlation is really between these guys and the quarterback, not between the skill position players themselves. So if I had Dalton in here too, I mean, maybe that's taking it a little bit too far. That's why we got Murray.
All right, I like it. Okay, should we pop in a defense?
Let's do it. Let's start from the bottom and see if we can find any good matchups here.
Always nice to find a cheap defense.
Well, how about Oakland versus Chase Daniel? That could be an option.
I thought you were going to say the Cincinnati Bengals there.
There we go, yeah.
Who was it? Oakland Raiders against Chase Daniel?
Yeah. Let me see how they're projecting. Maybe that would be the cheapest I would go, but probably not my cash play, I guess. How about someone facing like a terrible quarterback?
Well, what about Philadelphia Eagles and their fantastic pass rush going up against Luke Falk and the New York Jets?
I think that's the ticket. Because I mean, Darnold is unlikely to play at this point. So,
He's been ruled out.
oh, he was, man. I gotta catch up here.
His spleen is too large. Too large for football.
Man.
All right, we got $28 left. Now, I don't want to pressure you here, but that seems like Travis Kelce money to me.
I have to agree with you. I mean, top tight end, and we got plenty of money. Like, that's a recipe for victory here.
Beautiful. Okay, $27 left per player. You got another wide receiver for this lineup?
Yeah, I think T.Y. Hilton is kind of interesting if he's in, but
He's cheap. Yeah, that is against this Kansas City Chiefs secondary.
yeah,
In a high total game.
Fitzgerald is a good option, but he is paired with our quarterback, so that is a little bit of a negative. And then another guy I'm looking at is Sammy Watkins at 22 or 24. Yep. I mean, top offense of the week. Which of those guys?
You could take Hilton and Watkins here, or is that?
I think we got too much money for that. The problem that is nice to have.
Yeah, no kidding.
Which of the?
Do you have a preference in cash games for running back, wide receiver, tight end? Does it matter to you?
Well, a slight preference to running back because they are a little bit more consistent, I guess. Which of these guys would you kind of go to in cash for wide receiver?
Well, for cash games, I think. Well, I guess if Hilton's healthy, he's going to be the focal point of that offense. So even though he has the perception of a boomer bust play, he had 10 targets in that first half before he went out in his last game. So I would be more comfortable with Hilton. What about you?
I mean, if he gets 20 targets next game, I wouldn't hate that.
Let's do it. Okay, we got $28 left for a flex spot. Adam, are you feeling it? Thielen, Juju, Amari, not great options here.
Yeah, I should agree with you. I mean, maybe Le'Veon Bell at 27 is a good option.
I'm just looking at wide receivers here. I was like, where are all the running backs? Le'Veon, yeah, that's not bad.
Thielen, the squeaky wheel thing, like I don't know if I buy it because Minnesota just seems to prefer passing the ball to an absurd degree. Eckler,
yeah,
Eckler would be kind of the guy last week, but now with Gordon back.
News just broke on Twitter that they are focusing on getting Eckler the ball this week, so we'll see. But I'm with you; it's a little bit too risky. Le'Veon Bell, $27 does seem pretty reasonable.
I think we can put him in. I mean,
we saw what happened last time with. Sorry to interrupt you. With as soon as quarterbacks went out for the Jets, Le'Veon Bell touched the ball 95% of that time in that blowout game. So looks like he's game script proof, and I wouldn't be surprised if they just use him as a focal point.
For sure, and I mean, the matchup isn't that good. The quarterback stinks, but this is a spot where he can pick up some steady production throughout the game.
Nice. Awesome. All right. We got our cash line up there. Just circle that, pop it in, and win all the money this week. Have you been tracking our lineups, by the way?
No. How have we been doing?
I haven't. I forgot to put ours. I put both of ours in last week, and I adjusted them out of my lineup, so I totally forgot to put them in. So I will put our GPP lineups in the baller this week, maybe with a slight tweak or two, so no one duplicates them.
Maybe I should do that too, because I wouldn't mind splitting the first prize, $35K, with all you guys listening.
I like it. We'll all go out for like a $400 steak dinner. Okay. GPPs. What's your strategy here? Are we stacking? Are we game stacking here? Are you going for this Chiefs Colts game to just kind of sit back and watch this game go off and win all the money on Sunday night, or what's your focus?
That might be the best one to sweat, but what I'm gonna look for is a game that is going under-owned compared to where we think it should be. So maybe the least owned of the games we went over to start the show. What do you think?
What game is that?
Well, I think Arizona and Cincinnati is going to be the most popular.
Yeah.
Kansas City is probably going to be also on a team basis one of the most popular of the week. So one option I do like is I like Andy Dalton. He's projected to only be 3% owned this week. That's pretty nice.
Nice. Yeah, absolutely. That seems pretty pretty good ownership here. Let me pull up my ownership here so I'm going solo.
Yeah, I think Dalton, he's a nice contrarian quarterback, so we could start with him.
So start with him, and then I'm assuming we double stack?
Yeah, I think so.
All right.
Should we go with Boyd? I take it.
Tate and Boyd?
Yeah, let's do it. And
Perfect.
then run it back with one of the Arizona guys.
So who do you like here? We got Fitzgerald. Should see an increased target share with if Christian Kirk is out. He leads the league in routes run, as I mentioned. Or we got David Johnson, who's also been a real focal point of this offense. Bengals have a bit of a pass funnel, but we saw running backs just destroy them last week. So I think either one is viable here. David Johnson for $30, or Larry Fitzmagic for $24. Who do you like?
Yeah, I think both of them are great options. So I'm taking a look at the ownership. David Johnson is 26% owned. Fitzgerald is only 12% owned. So I think that makes a nice lower ownership if we go with Fitz.
Let's do it. All right. So we still got $23 left. Should we pop into defense?
Let's do it, yeah.
I'm okay going back to the Eagles, but if you got a little higher upside defense that you like to go to,
yeah, I think
low-owned one.
I mean, the Eagles are going to be popular, so let me check their ownership based on our projections here.
That's a good point. They might be the chalkiest. Just guessing here without seeing them, they might be the chalkiest.
It's only 13%, so not terrible on our projected ownership. The Bengals actually are higher at 15%.
Wow.
Yeah. So obviously we don't want to stack defense with our quarterback. That doesn't seem like a winning strategy. So Eagles it is.
Eagles it is. Okay. $25 left. We got to fit two running backs in. I think we're both probably okay with popping Fournette in again. What do you think?
I like it. Yeah.
And then I'm guessing Mixon's probably too much of a correlation here. Do we want something else in this running back? Maybe a cheaper one? Should we still be trying to fit in Kelce here, or what do you think?
What about Melvin Gordon? He's only $20. I mean, big question mark what his role is going to be, but $20 for Melvin Gordon, that seems pretty good to me.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we could get word later on in the week that he's not able to, or he's going to be in a timeshare, and then you can just pop him out. So there's always going to be that late breaking news. But $20 for him, if he's at all ready to roll, then that's an absolute bargain.
Yep.
Okay, tight end.
One other guy that I'm interested in is Jalen Samuels at $10.
Yeah.
He just killed it last week. Only
Looks
1%.
like Connor is going to be a full go this week, just so people are aware. I think he would have been a lock if Connor had been out. Hey.
Well, the crazy thing is they had them both in the game on the same plays last game.
Yeah.
But that's a guy on my radar that we didn't discuss.
I like it.
So now we're on tight end here. $29 left per player. Who are you thinking we should go to at tight end?
Kelce.
Okay.
Kelce or Mark Andrews is the other one I kind of have my eye on. $21. He's Pittsburgh's been really bad against tight ends this year, and it seems to be one of the weaknesses of their defense thus far. They rank just kind of middle of the pack in tight end. Maybe it's more slot receivers than that I saw on Twitter. So I'm happy to go with Kelce here, unless you got somebody else you want to go with.
I like Kelce and Andrews. I think that they're both nice options here, but Kelce fits our lineup salary left a little bit better, so let's go with that.
Yeah, and we only have him projected for 15% ownership, which seems more than reasonable to me.
I like that.
$26 left for a flex. Mark Ingram up against Steelers. Austin Eckler. We could go for the Melvin Gordon, Austin Eckler double stack. T.Y. Hilton seems like the most obvious choice.
Yeah.
Who do you like him?
T.Y. Hilton, I think people are going to be worried about the injury. We saw last week that Chris Godwin was extremely low owned coming off an injury, and Hilton's was even worse, having missed a couple of games here. So maybe people will just kind of be scared to click him.
I like it. We have him projected for under 1% right now, but obviously that's going to change with him practicing today, I believe. Mm-hmm. So he will be in that lineup. But there you go. I'm popping it in. I'm gonna look back on this and check that Melvin Gordon status. All right, we got 5 minutes left. Let's quickly build one more.
All right, let's do it, man. Looking forward to splitting this 35K with you.
Did you enter too? All right.
Yeah, let's do it.
I'm gonna last minute pivot off and then take all the money.
All right, I feel like I picked our stack last time, so tell me, who are we picking at QB this time?
Okay, hang on here. I gotta load up my Awesemo rankings. QB. Okay. I think we should just suck it up and pay up for Mahomes.
Okay, let's see how that looks.
What's his ownership at?
Probably not high enough.
23%.
Oh, that was pretty high.
I retract that. Let's go back. Let's go. Okay, I got one for you. We're gonna mix it up a little bit here. All right. This might not be an awesome endorsed stack. We're gonna pop in a little Jacoby Brissett, the quarterback.
I like it.
And we're gonna go right down to wide receiver, and we're gonna pop in T.Y. Hilton.
Okay.
Why not? And we're gonna game stack this one up with Travis Kelce.
Okay.
$32.
I like it.
I want one more Chief in here. What do you think about that? Is that too much, or is that too much of a game stack?
I think if we go with another Chief, we should get another Colt as well. If this game really goes off.
Let's stack it up. So my preference right now would be Nyheim Hines at $11. Pass catcher might be a little bit of a sneaky play in GPPs because people don't normally correlate those. Mm-hmm. And then pop in some Sammy Watkins.
I like it, man. I feel like Watkins people are souring on, so.
Yeah, exactly. A couple bad games in a row for both Kelce and Watkins relative to their price point. So that could be an advantage there.
Yeah.
Defense, I got no problem not pivoting off the Philadelphia Eagles again. But if you got another one that you like, let's roll with it.
I think with this particular lineup, we need some salary relief. So I think maybe
Oakland Raiders?
The Bengals are cheap, but I like the Raiders versus Chase Daniel. I mean, he's the backup. He should throw some picks. Usually, I mean, not a terrible backup, but
super.
Yeah, they're the dirt minimum. So
I love it. Do you have now when you're building these multiple lineups? Like, are you okay just going back to Fournette just because he's such a good deal, or would you rather pop in someone else?
I mean, he won a bunch of money for us last week, so I don't feel any hesitation about going right back.
All right, the trade offer. I'm just getting ready to fire it off to you. I'm okay popping in Tyler Boyd as well in this one. I'm gonna have a lot of Tyler Boyd this week. $21. He's just too cheap to leave off lineups. I think. What about you?
I think.
Go ahead.
Our lineup is pretty it's pretty chalky so far, aside from Hines. So maybe we go with the contrarian play to wrap it up here.
Beauty. So we got Fitzmagic at $24. We got Chris Godwin up against the New Orleans Saints, who also has the questionable tag. Does that interest you at all? Are we going back-to-back weeks? It looks like he's 20% owned, though.
He is pretty high owned. Our lowest owned options, Aaron Jones might be the contrarian play because Jamal Williams is out.
Yep.
So there is some uncertainty whether Dexter Williams will just slot in there and take half the snaps. If he doesn't, Aaron Jones could be a really nice play.
I like it. I like that price point. Dallas, tough matchup, but it's cheap, and he might get 100% of the shares for the first time ever. We have $2 left over on defense. Do you still want to stick with the – oh, no, we don't. We maxed out.
One thing I noticed, too, though, Evan Ingram's only 0.4% projected owned.
Oh, man, I would love to double stack that tight end. That's the Osmo special.
Okay, let's do that.
Okay.
I like that a lot.
All right, it's submitted. Winning all the money. That's going to wrap things up for us this week.
What's second place? 20,000. So we just made 55,000.
It's so easy, man. It's a sweet life.
This is good.
That is going to wrap things up for us. We are done. It is 1 o'clock. Coming up right now, it's myself and Jake Hari going over tonight's NHL slate. We got a 4-gamer coming up. Some decent-sized contests all over the place. So stay tuned just on this channel or check out the YouTube channel. And we will be back at our usual time next week, breaking down the Week 6 slate. Pretty soon this season's going to be half over. It's crazy. Thanks, as always, for joining me. Thank you very much for joining me, Alex. Thanks, everyone, for watching today, and we will see you next week.